Hello and welcome to Deliberately Creative. I'm Stephanie and I want to welcome you to another drawing lesson from my Inktober sketchbook. This time I am doing a lovely little raven in front of a full moon. I think you're going to like it. Come with me and see how fast, fun, and easy this really is. So what I wanted to do is draw up just the head of the raven and a full moon. First is go ahead and get my moon in here, because that will give me the limits on the size of the raven. And I am using my black Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen, size S. And I don't want to draw a hard line, so I am just going to just sort of lightly run around. See, it just gives me a little bit of a line. And I went ahead and just taped it off, so when I use my Inktense to put the moon in and things like that, it's not going to go over all of the page. So, okay, now I've got the moon. I'm going to ever so lightly start drawing in the beak. Let's see here. How do I want to do that? This is the back edge on the inside of his beak. This is how it comes down and sort of up and back down. This is the part that's going into his throat. So this is the leading edge or front edge that's closest to us, but his beak has two sides. There's a front and a back. So I want both the front and the back to show up. So it's just a little sliver, sort of a really long V going back, and then not going all the way back to the hinge on the front, and it's going to hinge up. Now this is going to give us the width of the top beak back at where it joins the head. But I want to make sure that the beak point makes it out to here, because if it closes, if his beak would close, you want this end, this edge right here, this little point, it would come down and meet or just past the bottom one, the bottom part of the beak. And you know, it's a little thing. It's a little thing, but it doesn't hurt to do these little things. And there's going to be a long V here where it meets up. And then there's the top of the beak that comes back. And part of this is going to get covered up with some of the fluffy feathers. The top sides of the beak will have these little hairy feathers. We'll do more of that in a minute. But for this right now, I'm just going to go like that, because really and truly the inside part of this mouth can just get colored in dark. One of the reasons why I'm able to get sort of a sketchy, lighter line with this pen is that I am working with it in a very light hand. So I can press on it and get more ink out of it. But if I just touch it lightly, I can get a lighter, more sketchy line. I'm also tipping it off the side, so I'm using not straight up and down, but I'm using it at a bit of an angle. You can see how there's a piece that sticks out. That's where the actual ink is coming out, right there. So Since this pen has that little tiny tip that sticks out, you can get a lot of ink if you're holding it straight up and down. But if you go sideways with it and just touch lightly, you never want to press hard when you're on that edge or you'll bend your tip. And that wouldn't be good. So then you can get a light sort of scratchy line in. And have more line width, more variation. People say you can't really get much variation with a technical pen, and that's true to a certain extent. So now the back of his head comes back, and his head isn't like a huge bump. It's more of a gradual slope back, like that. And then you're going to end up, we're only doing basically his top of his chest and his back of his head, right where it would join before the feathers on his wing. This is a portrait. And that's, you know, it's fun to do things like this. You learn more if you focus on a smaller area. And now I'm not going to draw all of the feathers, but I'm going to get some feathers in here. And this needs to join out a little bit farther on that beak. It would be like the gullet area. When they swallow, this little bit on the neck would give them a little bit more room to swallow things down. So there we go. We're just bring those feathers down. Now his eye is actually quite large for the size of head. And it's really interesting. The photos that my husband has access to are from a friend of his in the Yukon Territory who has gone out and done a lot of photography. Go ahead and put that highlight in there. And this is the mostly black eye, leaving the highlight. Oh, that's sweet. As sweet as a raven could be, you know. There we go. And we have these feathers that are just sort of swooping through. And I'm not even worried about this part of the moon line that's going through his body here. You know, this is a sketch. This is a study for a possible bigger picture. Maybe a painting. I'm not sure. Maybe nothing ever. And that's okay too. You know, you don't have to create beautiful art all the time to, you know, a final finished project. But the nice thing is that if you finish your drawings in your sketchbook at least enough so that you could come back to it at a future date and go, oh yeah, I like that. That would be a really good idea for something to draw or something to paint and make a bigger finished picture. But there, that's about all I'm going to do with the pen. Now what I want is to go in with these ink tints. See, I've got all of these colors and all of those colors. All right. And I'm just using a Mimic number 6 round watercolor paintbrush and some water. Now to start off, I want to start with my moon first because it's the lighter colors, and being the lighter colors, I can work this out and then I just went straight to the paper. Ooh, that was a potentially silly move. Okay, there we go. I surprised myself doing that. Okay, so you notice I still have not gone back and loaded up any more of that Inktense color on my brush. I'm still working with that initial load on my brush that I would normally have offloaded onto my freezer paper that I have right here. Just this freezer paper that I'm using as a palette underneath. There we go. Just offloading all of that color out of the brush. Phew. Okay, well, I made it. There we go. Now that is the undercolor. Now we're going to be taking some other colors over the top, and one of those colors is a sort of reddish maroon color. Let's see how that goes. Sort of darken the moon up and make it a little more kind of like that those harvest moons that are more orangey gold. Not sure exactly how that's going to work out. But this time I did put the paint, or put the ink, the Inktense ink, down on that paper. So I want to take that brightness of that moon down. There we go. And this is really ink. It dries permanent. It does not reactivate. Once it's dry, it's dry. And it becomes permanent. However, Inktense are not considered light fast. So this is great for doing studies, but I would not recommend this for something that you were doing and then selling to someone. I'm going to darken up this edge right here. Just sort of like that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's much better. Just like that. And then just a little bit back here and up there. All right, so the moon is pretty much in. I think I want a tiny bit more of a darker color. Let's see here. This is a mixed up color of several different, oh yeah, there we go. Of several different Inktense colors. I'm just dabbing in. There we go. And that is all I'm going to do there. All right, there we go. So now what I want is to go ahead and start working the main part of the bird in. And I'm going to do it with a light hand and a dark gray that I am adding a lot of water to. And I'm going to start out here and toss in a few feathers. You see how it's sort of fading out as I'm continuing because I'm not adding more pigment to my brush. And this is going to be the lightest color, so I'm going to go ahead and get that onto his beak also. There we go. And just like that. So now I want to increase the amount of pigment. So all I did was go back to that same block and just drop it into my puddle without adding extra water to it. And you see how much darker that is. Now I'm going to just let this bleed some. Because I want a little bit more of a flow. I'm just going to let the patchiness show up here also. There we go. A little bit over his beak. And around his eye. And you notice I am not refilling my brush, and I'm allowing it to sort of just carry out whatever I've got in the brush. And as it dilutes and becomes drier, I'm just letting it do whatever it's going to do. And I have left some spots with more color, more shadow, and some with less. Now this back part of his head here, I am going to make a lot darker. There we go. A lot darker. And just drop in a little bit. And really, that's about all I'm going to do with that. I was originally thinking of doing the black background around it, but I think I like it this way. I like it this way because then I could possibly do something else with it. I just went and grabbed a little bit more of that pigment. There we go. Just get a little bit more on here, and I'm pretty much done. If you like this video, I hope that you will click that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the video with your friends, make sure that you leave me a comment and let me know what you think. And if you'd like to see me continue doing the drawings like this after the drawing lessons, after Inktober is over, let me know that down in the comment section also. And as always, go out, do something creative, take care of yourself so you can take care of those around you. And I hope to see you back here really soon. Bye-bye.